So very good morning, namaste, and welcome back to Grace our closing ceremony. Finally, after spending 3 days of learning, deliberating, and discussing your climate action ideas for India and the world to mitigate climate crisis, we are here to celebrate you, our dear students. We have also something special in store for all the teachers as well. So please stay glued to your screens for the next 2 hours. So as we commence our closing ceremony, I would like to call upon our founder, Ms. Gayatri Chauhan, to commence the opening dialogue and share a brief recap and experiences for all our side events, panel discussions, and workshops. Over to you, Gayatri.
Thank you, Kaizen. A very good morning to all the students and teachers and the dignitaries who have joined us today. I'm extremely overwhelmed and thrilled to share with you all that we had a roller coaster ride for last 3 days. It was such an enlightening and enriching experience for the students, for the teachers, for the delegates whom we had called for the panel discussions and fireside chats, the keynote addresses. All of that was really, gearing up towards that big movement that we are trying to build together here. I hope that you're all with me on believing that India is well positioned to lead the climate movement in the rest of the world. Are you with me with that? So with that, very good. I see some hands raised and a lot of yes ma'ams. Thank you so much, students. Our hope is single-handedly it's you, right? We really believe in you and your potential in making this happen. And India Model United Nations is a platform for you to nurture that creativity in you, to gain new experiences, to get exposure to the right kind of stakeholders, whether it is United Nations or whether it is the education ministry or the right kind of stakeholders from the governments, businesses across all sectors. So we are here to provide all that exposure for you, and you have to now gear up and stand up to create solutions. So what we are trying to present through India MUN is this, that this is not going to be just, activist driven approach. Like all over the world, we are seeing marches happening, protests happening. Even in the video that we just played, you would have seen that students were going for marches with the placards in their hands, you're raising their voice for climate action. That alone is not enough. I think the time for that is over already. Now is the time for us to do something about it. You cannot, when your house is on fire, you cannot sit back and just raise a protest that okay, somebody has burnt my house, right? You cannot do that. We have to somewhere come forward and look for the solutions. So this is the time that you have to stand up and work on the solutions for climate change. So India Model United Nations welcomes you all once again on this very important initiative. And this is a decade-long program. Just you all have to understand, this is starting now. So this is in sync with the United Nations Decade of Action and Decade of Restoration, right? And that is why we had these two councils, Climate Council and the Biodiversity Council, because restoration is extremely, extremely important. So in these 10 years, we will be hosting these conferences, and we will be having a lot of student activities, and we'll be providing a lot of information, material. All of that will be given to you so that you are better equipped in solving this problem, right? Now coming to the recap of the last 3 days, the opening plenary, I'm sure all the students who are here present today were there in some form, either through YouTube or through Zoom. You were attending the plenary session. That was very well attended and very well represented by a global fraternity of world leaders on climate change. We had Mr. Satya Tripathi, who was a former Assistant Secretary General from United Nations Environment Program, do the opening. We had Mr. Oves Sarmad, who is the Deputy Executive Secretary from United Nations Climate Change, who opened the the entire session with his speech, and he was so positive about the power of youth that we have in India. Then we had a beautiful panel discussion, which was represented by the people who have framed the new education policy from CBSE, from the head of NSE Academy. NSE, you all know, right? National Stock Exchange. So that is how we had a very, I would say, diverse set of stakeholders who had come together on the opening plenary, and they all interacted with you, and you were also equally engaged. So that was absolutely heartening. The next day, day 2 and day 3, these 2 days were full of student activities where we were running 3 parallel tracks at a time. So within the MUN track, we had 18 plus 3 sessions going on. Then we had the side events where we had the climate hackathon that was organized by EarthHacks. Then we had the climate simulation program that was organized by En-ROADS, which is in coordination with MIT, right? I'm sure many of you know about MIT. Similarly, we had the satellite tracking program, which was in coordination with Cloud to Classroom, which is a joint initiative of Google Earth, NASA, and National Geographic, right? And then we had the SDGs and SDEs and SDFs that, yes, you're right. Ojasvi, you're right. So these are the programs that we had. And apart from that, we were also having the fireside chats where we were again bringing in these experts, and we had expressed, the opinions of these experts in three distinct areas. The first one was the fireside chat that covered the role of technology in climate solutions, right? The second one was the entrepreneurial pathways for climate action. And the third was green skills, green jobs, and employability for India's sustainable future. Because going forward, and it is very important for you all to know this, because many of you are going to be the next Bill Gates, next Steve Jobs, next Elon Musk, right? And you have to be equipped with all the know-how and information and whatever it takes now. So this is the time to make it happen. And these were the three topics that we really wanted you to dwell on, because your career aspirations are yours, as well as that of your parents and teachers. And we are here to support that, right? Because going forward, the world is moving towards green economy. You know that about 2 decades ago, when we had this IT boom, and then we had this dot-com boom. And so every time there is a new wave that comes in and that really sweeps the job market, correct? And this is the time where we are going to experience a major shift towards green jobs. So that is on the job front. Plus, we are also focused on the entrepreneurial pathways. For instance, you be your own boss. You will be creating employment for others, right? So you can come up with solutions that are solving a climate problem, or that is an ancillary area to work on. Yes, .org boom. It's not .org boom, but yeah, that the purpose is social entrepreneurship. That is, you're trying to have a purposeful living and a purposeful occupation. It is very important, right? Because in our days, people were just aspiring for a career, while the next generation, your generation, is looking for a career which is giving them the fulfillment of purpose, right? So this is very important that I'm really heartened to see the kind of responses you're all giving. This is great. And I'm very positive about the fact that you all are in this together. And this is what we need. India has close to 360 million students, right? And that's a huge, huge force. So that kind of force will definitely be able to help us. And we are the country which is geographically, most vulnerable when it comes to climate change. Just imagine if we happen to, I just don't want to think like that, but then this is the kind of threat that we have. When the climate crisis happens, countries like India will be hit the most, because not just India, even there are other developing nations which are going to be really hit badly. The plus point with India is that we have a huge, massive youth force, which is positive, which is brimming with hope, and you can actually do a lot in this area, right? And a lot of innovation is there. And that is the reason we have partnered with the IITs, with Atal Innovation Mission, as well as the cutting edge research institutions from all over the world, to ensure that we are able to find new ways and solutions for these problems. So just to give you some numbers now, so India MUN program is a pan-India program, as you all know. So we have reached out to 600,000 students all over the country through this program. And thousands of you have already participated in this program. And through various touch points that we have created and we will be creating in the coming few months, you will all be experiencing that positive shift, right? So that is what is important. And we welcome all the schools and the teachers and principals who are here today listening to us to encourage your students to participate. Your school can also register itself. Your teachers can register themselves with a bunch of students, and students can individually also register. So we keep all the three gateways open. One is for the schools, one is for the teachers, and one is for students. So the idea is that you are given this platform, an open access to this platform, to experience a whole plethora of ideas and pathways to take your further journey ahead. So with that, I would thank Kaizin once again for giving me this opportunity to share some of the experiences in last 3 days. And I would like to pass on the mic to her. Thank you, Kaizen. Thank you, students.
Thank you so much, Gayatri. I think the entire conversation that has been driven by you right now focuses mainly on how students today are thinking more from a purpose-driven, fulfilled career than not just thinking about going out there and getting all the luxury through, high salary jobs. People are becoming more and more conscious, which is amazing. Now, having said that, and I'm sure that everyone wants to know how the India MUN deliberations and council committees went, I would now like to ask Mr. R.K. Gautam to join us and share the experiences for the past 3 days around the same. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Kaizen. Pleasure to be here, sharing the experiences with each one of you. There have been different types of experiences, not just for me, for everybody who participated in this. Right from the time you started registering, you might have encountered some technical problems, or you're not clear in what to fill in which of these fields. And a lot of you have actually wasted the opportunity to register. So that's why you must have missed the sessions because of not filling all the fields in their entirety or with enough clarity. Of course, it's good enough if you have the name and email IDs, but then we have also asked for the standards, class, which standard you are studying in. And we got a lot of weird answers for that also. So some of you might have missed out because of sheer bad luck, the way you understood probably the field. So we are taking measures to ensure that next time we have better clarity to all those who are trying to fill in the registration forms. Probably that could be also something lacking from our side in terms of clarity in the questions or in the options that we have provided, and there could be also some technical challenges, technological challenges. So don't be disappointed. We'll have more and more and better opportunities and events that you can actually take part in. This is just the beginning, and we are also trying in a parallel format of the MUN, parallel to the conventional typical MUNs, because we are all used to it. Though that's a very popular format, there's no hard and fast rule that the terminologies or the procedures have to be exactly the same. That's one way of conducting MUNs, and we have shifted the focus from just scoring points and then learning the procedures of a typical United Nations function. We said, using that format, why not we also get the delegates learn something beyond the foreign affairs policies that the MUN delegates have been focusing on. So this is the first time that there is a different theme to the MUN proceedings in terms of climate action, which is the center of all discussions in the world today. So it is more pertinent that students and youth of this generation have been very rightly emphasized by Gayatri ma'am, that this is the generation or the generations to come that will actually face the brunt of this climate change consequences in the decades to come. So it is these people who should know the issues and then probably attempt to resolve some of them at least. If we may not be able to eliminate all of those risks, at least we will transfer some of them, preempt some of them, and probably be prepared to adapt to some of them. Okay, so that's the intention of this whole event, having a theme-oriented discussions. So every theme, our every activity was revolving around this theme throughout, and I could see a lot of learnings also from the students who have expressed their feedback to me, as in when I went into those rooms or committees, that they had an opportunity to learn something new, which is normally offbeat. And I was also surprised that most of the delegates also have some understanding of this. From various sources, maybe it is from their teachers, from their school, from their parents, siblings, or friends, or from the internet activity that they have, or the TV news that we get to see day in and day out. But then they had enough of this awareness of what is happening to an extent to the level of their comprehension. And they were quick to understand whatever we are trying to tell them. And it's not all what you call uh, reading out from a set of notes. They were also simultaneously giving extempore or instantly some responses when we are asking them on the committees. So one way it's a new way of taking MUN deliberations and in a very what you call contextual one, and the students and the youth of these times should be exposed to these topics. That's what the entire intent of this theme-based MUN. So that has also created some resistance in the delegates, saying that, I mean, they were hardwired to attend these typical MUNs, that they still bring in those terminologies, which is fine. I mean, I've not objected to that, as long as that's not coming in the way of freely expressing their thoughts and ideas. So the focus, as I said, was also, apart from the theme, the focus is also on innovation, okay? Thinking out of the box, bringing in new ideas. It's not just that we know some solutions have been worked out by the leaders of the countries currently, but that is not sufficient. We have not found much traction for most of those ideas. They are all half-baked and may not be addressing the situations that might arise in future, say 20 years from now. So they are not what you call compatible with the future kind of problems that we might have. So we should have solutions for problems which have not yet been here. So we should be what you call having a foresight into what kind of problems these situations would lead to, and then probably find a solution. So that something is missing in this generation. Probably our generation has a different kind of thought processes, but we were hoping that this generation will bring in a lot of new ideas. To an extent, that's also missing. I mean, it's not that I'm not generalizing, but then most of the students are still, as I said, concerned about the procedures and the rules and regulations, and they were also focusing on trivial things, like instead of urging, let's have a call it a request. Urge, request, plead, this all mean the same. I mean, some of the resolutions, you should understand the intent behind those resolutions before you actually comment, right? So we should move away from these grammatical, simple, trivial things to the most serious things. I mean, what is the solution that that resolution point or clause is offering to the problem statement? So I would probably expect this generation to grow wiser as they grow, and then from this deliberations, they would have understood that the focus is more on the solutions, and especially different and new and out of box thinking based solutions. Okay. Having said that, we had to start with on day one. I mean, for the committees, day before yesterday, there were some heartburns. Some of them could not get the link in time. That could be again some issue with the internet emailing services. Some of them did not get it in time. Some of them have not, probably it has ended up in their junk box. Some of them came in assuming that everything is happening on the same day, so they have to be sent back because council and general assembly sessions were not happening during the day one, I mean day two of the conference. So they happened yesterday. So probably we also failed in communicating this itinerary correctly or in time. So we'll all learn from these experiences. It's also important that you should come out of the typical MUN mindset, because yes, MUN happens on so many days and there are no parallel sessions. Sometimes they're all sequential, and then even if there are parallel sessions, there are very few. They have a defined function. So thinking, I mean, coming outside of the thinking of a typical MUN, if you are tuned to or open to having a different format altogether, then probably will feel more comfortable maybe next time around. Having ended up in some of these committees and councils, some of you also had a difficulty in not finding the chair and co-chair. That's like any other delegate. Some of them were absent, right? So to my surprise, a lot of the delegates stepped up. I mean, it's heartening to note that they have readily agreed to chair the proceedings, okay, or vice chair, which means that they are stepping up as a leader. So that's a good trait. But then you should also not be expecting additional scores or additional awards just because you stepped up into the chair and co-chair. I know that's an additional responsibility because we asked you to also state your country's policies and statements apart from being a chair. So someone who did that very efficiently. I have no second thoughts on that. In fact, I was very surprised that you came prepared as a delegate, but then you have also took up the responsibility of a chair or a co-chair, and that did not make you nervous, or you were equally prepared for that, and you did a good job. So, three cheers for that. Of course, we have added, don't worry, we have added a few points to those delegates who have doubled up or stepped up as a chair or a co-chair. We have added a few points, but that may not necessarily ensure the highest score, right? I mean, it also depends on your other traits. I mean, the understanding of the topic and the communication skill. How did you collaborate? How did you negotiate with others? So some of them probably might be missing, or you might have done very well in all of them. So anybody who has scored close to 25, okay, are in the list of the award considerations, okay. So I don't think anybody has achieved 25 out of 25 because we have taken average of, we have made our own scoring, and we have also compared those scores with the scores made by the chairs and co-chairs. Because sometimes co-chairs, I mean chairs and co-chairs might miss out on some of the traits, understanding how important are these are, assessing the abilities in respect to those criteria. So we don't blame them because they are all of the same age group, similar age group. So without blaming them for any erroneous or wrongful scoring or any misunderstood scoring, we have also parallelly maintained some scoring. Though we could not stay for long on each of the committees, we had recordings for a brief time and then have jumped from one committee to the other committee, made some notes. So from our overall judgment, we have also added some score and then we took the average. So the best score we have received is 24 out of 25, which will announce that is the best score we have seen. That will go to the best delegate. We have six categories of rewards, which I'll announce it in a while. Coming very quickly back to the MUN deliberations. So some of you have understood perfectly well how this should go on. I mean, you have grasped it really well. Some were not so fast enough to understand this. Probably the system, I mean, the format itself is slightly complicated. I know even grown-ups will have difficulty understanding it for the first time. I mean, next time probably all of you would be very familiar with this and you will do much better. So discussing the points, what are important, what are not important, and then negotiating or asking questions to each other, that was all, I mean, that all went on very well. But drafting the resolution, though we have provided a typical template, okay, where we have given how to start a clause, okay, a typical United Nations template of a resolution. But not many of you, not more than 3 or 4 committees have used this template very well, okay. They have got all those headings, but then they have messed up with the rest of the resolutions, but that's fine. I mean, as long as you are hinting, or as long as you are probably making your ideas and the intent of the resolution points clear, which is good. So we have not also gone stringent on reducing marks on the format, okay? So don't worry about that. But then some of them are very, it looks like one of the committees had too many delegates. Probably that was one of the reasons why the resolution was rushed through. There was not even more than one line for each of the clause. So it was not clear enough. Somebody said rainwater harvesting. So is that a solution for what problem? How are you solving? Rainwater harvesting is done even now. How is it different from what is being done now? So what additional ideas you are bringing into the table on rainwater harvesting or to make that effective? I'm just giving an example, don't worry. Okay, so things like that would have been given more attention. The idea was to identify the problem briefly. We don't want to dwell more into problems because we know them. the focus should be on the solutions, right? And how do you actually implement that? Very brief, crisp explanation of that. If you are saying, say the eco-friendly transportation or the electrical vehicles, that's happening even now. What additional features that you want the government to bring in as policy statements or policy initiatives that will enhance the uptake of electrical vehicles? So that's something. Of course, even these are serious topics. These are for the very grown-ups, somebody like a gray beard like me. But probably we thought this generation is also intellectually many times more intelligent or advanced than the previous generations. So that you proved it right in most of the discussions I've been through. In fact, Gayatri Madam was also closely monitoring some of the discussions, and she was elated that people have this kind of understanding about so so technical and critical or complex topics like these. In fact, some of the professionals fail in understanding these concepts well, and you have sometimes bettered them or at least equaled them. So that's a good takeaway from this. You understood something or the other as a takeaway from what you knew earlier to what you know now. There has been a delta, a good difference, and that will help you in furthering your careers, okay, in not just in the schooling, colleges, universities, but also in your career, that you have developed understanding of these topics in a very early stage of your education, right, in your secondary school stage, so or higher secondary. So that should give you a lot of confidence and understanding, and you can preempt the disastrous consequences that the world is projecting. So you have to prove them wrong, that no, some of them of course are already upon us, and we may not be able to do much to eliminate them, but we will do something to adapt to that, okay, find ways to adapt to those consequences and ensure that the other consequences that are projected but they are not yet in probably could be eliminated or minimized, the impact could be minimized or transferred. There are different ways of addressing each of these risks, okay. So that being said, you're all waiting for the rankings. My advice is, please, as you have spent some time researching and participating in the deliberations, a good certificate, participation certificate is helpful. Okay, you can say that we have attended a climate themed MUN sessions, which will give you a lot more edge than others who would have normally attended the conventional or typical MUNs. So you have attended different MUN. So participation certificate itself will carry a lot of weight. Okay, and since there are many delegates, literally around close to 500 of them yesterday, though the numbers were less than what we have anticipated to an extent, but then we knew that there were other challenges. They were all waiting in the waiting rooms and then trying to get in. So there are, as I said, technology related issues. Some of them could not find their right committee in time. In fact, somebody was writing to me yesterday evening about the committees, which happened day before yesterday. So somehow the communication missed. So there is a communication gap as well, which we should address effectively next time around. So don't worry. This is a good beginning, both for us as organizers and for you as participants. I also knew that you have participated very actively in the side events, which are equally important. In fact, here you are making your own research and understanding. In the side events, you are given some additional what you call thoughts around these concepts. I mean, you were taught some additional things to you so that you understand more things. Okay, what apart from what these 18 topics that I have taught you. Okay, so having said that, there are schools which were also disappointed because the students could not be accommodated. We tried our best. They came in late, and then of course I was replying to one of those schools. The other one is, it is also important that it's not just to attend, you also prepare something, right? You can't be just a passive. You learn something, but then you should have enough time to know what is the background, even to learn from others or from the deliberations as a passive participant. You should know the background. So we only hope that each delegate gets enough time, at least 48 hours or more, in advance so that they can quickly browse through these topics and understand the background. So the late entrants would not have got into this deliberation. That's one. And we are also dependent on the computerized systems which will look for the email IDs, okay, the name, and then there should not be repetition. .com has to be .com, can't be .con, .con. So there are things like that, which because of thousands of applicants for various activities, not just MUN and side activities, these get eliminated, okay. And similarly, if there is the name is not there, the class is not there, then when you ask for standard or class, you said yes, A grade. I don't blame you. You might have got the grade A, which is good. I mean, we are happy, but you are not having a clue of which standard you are. So we were trying to restrict this from 8th to 12th, because even for 8th to 12th, these topics are a little difficult. And if students from 6th, 4th, there are students from 2nd standard and 1st standard trying to get in, the enthusiasm is appreciable. But then it's time, there is time for them to get into these topics. We are also trying to get some climate related basics to these Montessori or first primary school students in the next few months. So we'll have some programs even for them. Of course, they have these environmental studies right from Montessori, right? They teach you what is sun, what is moon, what is wind, what is a tree. So you learn a lot of basic things in your preliminary schooling days. Learn them to the extent possible, and I mean, to the best of your abilities. And when you come to the secondary school, you will learn more difficult things, okay? By which time, possibly your seniors would be solving these problems, so you don't have to solve them, okay? So with that, I would conclude. We will look forward to the announcements. Just cheer up for everybody else. It's as good as you winning, okay? Just that we have gone by some objective ways of scoring, because I can't just judge people by their face, how I'm impressed I am. No, it is not individual or personal choices. We have put some scoring mechanism on whatever criteria. There are 5 criteria, and on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being not so good, 5 being very good, and 3 being average. So most of the scores were between 4 and 5. So there's a lot of also tie-up. So we have to find people who have scored, like, no, university cutoff points these days are 100% in some of the universities. Okay, so like that, unless you are 25 out of 25 in your committee ratings, you would not have got 24 from our ratings, because our ratings are not so generous. Okay, we never give below 3, but not that generous. So this is to encourage that there is still way to learn more, okay, to better the performance, okay. We don't want to mislead students if they have still to learn something or perform better, okay. So with that, I would conclude here. Kaizen, do you think if I have missed anything out, or time for the awards and rewards?
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. I'm sure that the students are equally consoled, motivated, and they are very interested in participating. Once again, I've been reading a lot of queries and requests that how can we join India. We really, really love your spirit, and we are so excited about what's to come in the next year for you guys and what we can do more and more for you guys. So before we proceed to the most important ceremony of the event, and which everyone's asking us about, when's the ceremony starting? Before that, we would like to request Shri B.R. Maheshwara Chaitanya of Amrita University to deliver his special virtual message for all of us.
Namaskar. My name is Maheshwara Chaitanya. I'm talking on behalf of Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham. So I have been engaged with programs hosted by India MUN. There was a panel discussion last day, and the topic is about the climate change. A very much important topic, very much hot topic, and very relevant at times, when we see that there's a huge technological change that is happening across the globe. So what is the basic relevance of this climate change? Today I am in the state of UP, where today the temperature here is less than 5 degrees. And the locals were saying that, the villagers were saying that it has been long since this kind of a cold wave has affected us. And they say that there has been a drastic change when this is hit. Now, in the past 2 to 3 years, we see that the state of Kerala, even the state of Kerala, had a lot of natural calamities. We were witnessing the floods, the unpredicted rains, the cyclones that has been forming because of the depression in the sea. And why is it happening like this? Whatever was expected to happen in the month of October, it is being shifted to later months like December or January. Why is it so? So this is the need of the hour. It is very important that we have to start a conversation about the climate change. And it is very important that we have to bring this to the attention of the youth. Why? Because youth are expected to be the future generation. And if the future generation is not given proper awareness about all this, the issues that will impact their life or impact their family in future, that will be a very, what do you say, bad on us. Very important that we have to start educating at their school level. So we had a lot of discussions, panel discussions, conversations, keynotes, speeches that was given by a lot of academicians, people involved in this field, environmentalists, etc. And India MUN has been very, very active in bringing this issue up to the public, where this becomes a topic to talk and discuss. So I am representing Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham. Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham was founded by Chancellor Sri Mata Amritanandamayi Devi. She always says that loving Mother Nature, contribution towards the Mother Nature, it has to be part of the academic curriculum. Or I should say that it has to be part of the education. How do you understand? How do you make the students understand the responsibility towards the nature, the responsibility towards the society, the responsibility towards the future generation? Because today, whatever we do, it will definitely impact the future generation. So how is it possible for us to make them aware about these natural issues and how it can be inculcated through the academic curriculum, through education or through schools? So we have been training the students in our schools and colleges under the university through a program called as Living Labs. Living Labs is not just a program, but a program to create awareness, create an impression in the mind of the students that they are living in a society where they can be the solvers to the problem faced by the society. The best example is water conservation. Novel ideas, discovered innovative ideas as envisaged by our engineering students. The problems they solve, the problems they try to solve with the help of whatever they have learned as part of academics. That is being inculcated, and that is the type of culture we are trying to create in educational system. So if a student is able to see whatever is happening as a reality, rather than reading or rather than listening, rather than seeing, if they are able to experiment, if they are able to experience it in the reality by staying with villagers, that is nothing, or that is something which will create an impact in their life. That is something which they can understand about the problems faced by the society, and climate change is one among those issues. So Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham will definitely be part of any such initiative taken up by India MUN the United Nations, mock United Nations, that will reach out to the students at large and try to imbibe that culture, impart that culture among the students, teaching them that they are responsible for the change of nature. And it is their responsibility to make sure that they are not trying to attempt such kind of actions or activities that will harm the nature, which will result in harming the future generation. So let me congratulate again India MUN to taking up this initiative, and we will always be part of this kind of initiatives, and Amrita University will definitely take steps to integrate this kind of a culture thought process in academic curriculum. All the best to India MUN. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And before we commence our award ceremony, we would like to set the stage. So give us 10 minutes to set that up. We will start at sharp 11:10 again. You can stay online with us. Give us 10 minutes while we roll out the awards.
CS, the Center for Climate Change and Sustainability, is Ashoka University's most interdisciplinary center. It brings together members of the Ashoka community with a shared interest in studying, communicating, and understanding the effects of climate change on our society, health, and environment. The center will focus on research and advocacy under 7 broad themes: ecology, conservation and climate change, One Health, climate and society, the economics of climate change and sustainability, climate change communication, sustainable communities, and the environmental humanities. 3CS will also focus on communicating the urgency of issues surrounding climate change and sustainability through the imaginative use of social media, blogs, music, art, podcasts, and targeted advocacy campaigns, in addition to peer-reviewed literature and policy briefs. For more information on 3CS, visit our website at ashoka.edu.in/3CS.